All right, welcome back to the channel. So, word has it that Deontay Wilder will be ordered to fight the winner of Dillian Whyte versus Alexandre Povetkin in a title eliminator. This again being rumored to be ordered by the WBC. This is ridiculous on a whole bunch of levels, but hey, let's go through that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. So, Dillian Whyte is going to face Alexandre Povetkin today in a rematch of a fight that last year I do believe was a candidate for knockout of the year if it did not win knockout of the year. But I have to say, guilty pleasure here, that it was probably my favorite fight of the year. To watch Dillian Whyte get knocked out cold after all of the nonsense he has been talking for so long, I and many other people in boxing had what I think you call that a cathartic moment. Just like, we feel, because it always feels good. I'm sorry. It's one of the things about boxing that actually is good, is that when somebody talks too much smack and you get to see him whooped, you get to revel in that. So Dillian Whyte, who despite being, in my opinion, a top heavyweight, but nothing special at all. Like there is absolutely nothing special that I see about Dillian Whyte. But because Dillian Whyte has a very good promoter, Dillian Whyte is around at a time when he's the second best heavyweight in that stable, along with Anthony Joshua, just gives him access to a lot of publicity. But other than that, Dillian Whyte is a so-so fighter. Like, he's clearly a high-level fighter, right? But is he, who are you going to take, Dillian Whyte or Jared Anderson in a fight? Dillian Whyte or Michael Hunter in a fight, right? Michael Hunter's going to beat him. Jared Anderson's going to beat him. Like, it's just, he's not that good. Dillian Whyte against Deontay Wilder, in my opinion, is just a knockout waiting to happen. And it might go like Felix Taverne too. That's how little I think of Dillian Whyte's chances for this. But, I at least get to see him go back at Alexandre Povetkin again and see how he will switch up to find a way to get out of that fight without getting knocked out. Now, Dillian Whyte has been knocked out 2 times in his career, right? One by the guy that he's going to be fighting against. Now, we'll see what happens in the fight. My personal opinion is that Dillian Whyte is going to try to jab and stay away, lean in, hold, right? All those type of things to try to stay away from Alexandre Povetkin, because Alexandre Povetkin is just a better fighter. He's an older fighter, right? Like 38, 39. Oh, is he? No, he's 40 years old. I'm pretty sure Alexandre Povetkin is pushing 40. He's around the same age as Luis Ortiz. So definitely an older fighter, was fighting in the same era as Vladimir Klitschko, right? So, but unlike Dillian Whyte, at least my impression is, Alexandre Povetkin is a very, very solid fighter. Very fundamentally sound fighter, very tight, very strong, right? A classic heavyweight, about 6'3 and a half, 220, 230 pounds, always got some steroid problems, right? So there's that too. But, as if Dillian Whyte didn't pop dirty for something before the fight with Oscar Rivas. Anyway, all that stuff to the side. Dillian Whyte versus Alexandre Povetkin. It's either going to go to knockout by Alexandre Povetkin, or it's going to go to a decision by Dillian Whyte. Either one of those situations really doesn't make a difference to me, because the idea that the WBC would order Deontay Wilder to fight either one of them is an absolute joke. And it's a joke on a bunch of different levels. First of all, Dillian Whyte would not deserve to be the mandatory. He just got knocked out, right? Or to be in a title eliminator. Now, why would it be in a title eliminator? Because Deontay Wilder has a rematch clause with Tyson Fury, right? So that's my guess. That's the logic of saying, well, in order to know who the mandatory is for Tyson Fury, we'll have the winner of Dillian Whyte versus Povetkin fight Deontay Wilder, as if Deontay Wilder is the mandatory. or Deontay Wilder even needs to be in the rankings in order to get that fight, because he does not. Dillian Whyte, there is a rematch clause for Tyson Fury that Tyson Fury agreed to, that the WBC was knowledgeable about. If the WBC was being, the WBC never sides with Deontay Wilder. They didn't, and I'll get to that in a second about Alexandre Povetkin and why the idea of Deontay Wilder fighting Alexandre Povetkin is a joke. Because if Alexandre Povetkin beats Dillian Whyte, why would Deontay Wilder have to fight Alexandre Povetkin, a guy that had already gotten tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs the first time that Deontay Wilder was supposed to fight him, and then welched out, with the help of the WBC, welched out on the money that they owed Deontay Wilder for the fight. So just on that level, the one that the Dillian Whyte doesn't deserve it, because Dillian Whyte just got knocked out. You know what I'm saying? If Alexandre Povetkin wins a decision, right, or loses a decision to Dillian Whyte, right, or even gets knocked, that doesn't make up for the fact that Dillian Whyte got knocked out in his last fight. And I do believe maybe the fight before that, he looked like garbage, was way overweight. And then the fight before that was the Oscar Rivas fight, or was that the last fight? The Oscar Rivas fight where he tested positive. Just so the idea of either one of these guys, both having heavy juicing paths, both having pasts, that affect, a Deontay Wilder fight. Both of those things are just ridiculous. But then, to boot, the WBC knows that even if they did order it, it wouldn't mean anything, because Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder are in court. And there is a Tyson Fury is not going to be allowed to fight anybody until that process goes all the way through. And that process is a two-step process. The first process is a mediation process, and that is when the two parties are supposed to get together and come up with some way to agree to a fight. As far as I know, they are still in the mediation section of that, even though it seems a little far-fetched for them still to be, because I do believe that, March? So they've been in this for almost 3 months. Well, so, yeah, I guess mediation can go 6 months. You never know how long that stuff can go. Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder might be out with this for the entire year, right? So maybe that's the logic. Have those guys fight a title eliminator so that the WBC can make some money. Maybe, you know what I mean? Because they ain't getting no money out of a big fight with Tyson Fury and Deontay and Anthony Joshua, despite all of the talk to the contrary. But like I said, and I've been very insistent on this week in the channel, pretty much what's going on in the heavyweight division is that the ball is in Deontay Wilder's court. Deontay Wilder is in the number one. He's the number one heavyweight in the biggest market. Number two, he's in court with Tyson Fury and has that WBC belt locked up. And that means he's locked up, Tyson Fury's locked up. There's only one other heavyweight of note in boxing, and that is Anthony Joshua. When the other two heavyweights are locked up, what is Anthony Joshua going to do? Anthony Joshua is going to fight a bunch of fights that people don't really care about, and his star status already took a hit. It's going to be very difficult for him to get back to where he was unless he beats either Deontay Wilder or Tyson Fury, right? So the whole thing is knotted up, and it's knotted up with Deontay Wilder. So on many levels, first, just if there wasn't the whole Tyson Fury thing, the idea that Dillian Whyte would deserve to be shooting at another title shot after just having got knocked out is silly. And that Alexandre Povetkin would, with his steroid past and his past specifically with Deontay Wilder and the WBC, that they would order that fight to happen again, knowing that the last time they had it, the whole thing was a debacle. To boot, Deontay Wilder's has two of the top three heavyweights balled up in court, which isolates the other one. So anyway, that's my take on the matter. We'll talk about it again and see what happens after the Dillian Whyte, Alexandre Povetkin fight. And with that, I'm out. Peace.